writing for TV and producing for television, so this is very much my wheelhouse.
Yeah, she was the perfect person to bring on board for this one.
Yeah.
Also, I'll be giving you guys a free card to this battle card game that I made just exclusively for Wizard World this weekend. It's featuring characters from the FSK brand. Each one of you, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I got enough. All right, so each one of you will be getting one of these. All right, so hello to everyone in Facebook land. It's Mike and Kat,
Hey.
Short Fuse Media in the building. We are going to be talking about the success of the recent trail of DC films and why is that happening. Also, do the old movies still fit or should they? Okay, welcome to the event. Oh, wait. I still have
Wait, you still have enough cards, or else don't worry, we'll get you something.
We'll get you-
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
get
get
you
you something.
All right, so DC movies as a whole, they have had a rocky little journey here. I'm not gonna lie, I am a Marvel guy. I do enjoy Marvel very much, so I connect with them so much. But I also do love DC stuff. I may lean more towards Marvel, but as a whole, for the geek culture to be a success, the more comic book movies we have, the better. I want to see awesome comic book movies from everywhere, not just the big houses, but small places as well, such as Short Fuse Media. Had to plug that. How do you feel about that, Kat?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really important to have a lot of superhero stuff, even from the indies. Like we got to see Deadly Class, which sadly
Yeah.
got canceled. But Umbrella Academy, getting to see a lot of these indie comics become movies and television, I think is really important. But having DC and Marvel, because there's so many diverse heroes, why do you think these heroes have been able to survive? It's
For
because
so
they're
long.
so diverse and been able to really change over the times and evolve over the times, I feel. And the movies have really shown that.
Yes. So as we journey into DC, they've had a lot of films here, and they're starting their cinematic world. I feel like DC gets a lot of flack that they don't need because Marvel took one path that was very successful for them, and everyone feels that that same formula should be applied to DC. Whether I agree or disagree with that, I think DC, aka Warner Brothers, should be allowed to make their films the way that they want to make their films. They've been in business for over 100 years, so they may know something about making movies. I just think they get a lot of pressure from fandom because our geek culture is everywhere now. It kind of is it's having this run of the world. Now, Wonder Woman. Now, this was a very, very successful film, and I think we can honestly say, as far as numbers and crowd appeal, this was the first breakthrough success for DC. Would we be in agreement with that?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Now, one of the reasons I feel like that movie was successful, besides it having good production value, a good story, good acting, and a great mood and tempo for it, I think the biggest reason it was a success because everyone was so thirsty for a female-led movie with a positive version of a female in charge, kicking butt and not having to answer anybody, that when we got it, we rushed through to go see it. So I think it's not the only reason, but I think that's a big part of the success. And then when you go there, it's produced well. She's represented well. The action's on point. You have memorable moments that people can still talk about to this day.
No Man's Land.
That's what I was just
right?
about to say.
So good.
That's the first one that pops up in my head. And then, it's a good cast of characters. Good direction. You have a woman directing the movie. You have a woman in the lead role, and they went through for specific efforts because sometimes, like for my book Vigilance, I wanted to get a female writer specifically for the book because it is a female character, not because I didn't feel like a man couldn't write it, but there's little nuances about being a woman I just don't know about. One of my artists was drawing Emerald Quest for me, and she saw the hair we designed. She looked at me and said, "No, Michael, this is not going to work." And I said, "What do you mean? Just can I work the hair?" And then she worked, and I was like, "You're right."
Hair is
right.
important in
It
comics,
is.
okay? Don't let anyone say it's not.
It is. And she killed it. And my writer on Vigilance did a really good job of capturing Vigilance as a person and not stereotyping it for what a stereotypical female would do in the world that we had going on. So I think that's a big factor. What do you think about Wonder Woman?
I loved Wonder Woman. If I have to rank my favorite DC movie, it has to be Wonder Woman. I'm not saying it doesn't have its flaws with
Okay, yeah.
writing and all that. I do think I kind of agree with Act 3 being, could have been shaped a little better, but I think it's such an important movie. And I can't wait for the next one. That poster looks awesome. So yeah, I mean, it's really important because you had Gail, who was the lead of this movie, but also a director who was a female as well. I totally agree. And I think that helped. And also it had its own tone. I think with DC, they were trying to be like, oh, let's be dark. Let's do this because this is what works, because that's what worked for Dark Knight. It's like, yeah, that might work for Batman. It might work for Dark Knight. Doesn't mean it's going to work for Batman vs. Superman or Superman in general. So, yeah, I think it had its own tone, and that's what's so important. And when we do talk about Shazam, I think that's what made Shazam succeed. And even though I will say I might, be minority in the room, I didn't love Aquaman, but I do think it's a great movie because, obviously it had its own vibe, and that's why a lot of people did enjoy it. So, yeah.
And that's part of it. You got to be honest. And there's some things about Wonder Woman I don't like. But there are things that I love about the Wonder Woman movie. But I can understand why it is successful the way that it is and the impact that it have. And I can relate to that so much. Just to pull this movie in here, it's Miles Morales in Enter the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yes.
When I watched that movie, I have never felt more connected to being a kid in high school before in my life. It was just little tiny things that they put in there. I was like, my God, like that's how me and my friends were. That was my school. That's how we moved. That's how we shook. That's how everything. So when I took my girls to go see Wonder Woman, it's like, boom, they lit up because they're getting to see a woman up there doing this. And normally we're always watching, Avengers or Superman or Batman, but now they're getting to see Wonder Woman up there. So I get it. The next film being Aquaman, which is a good segue. Aquaman was a fun movie. I think Aquaman, to me, one of the reasons Aquaman is successful, Jason Momoa. I'm not going to lie. He's a hot piece of man. All right? Flat out. DC, with the understanding of casting him, that's probably one of the best casting choices that they made because the man's fun. He's funny. He can be a badass when you want him to. He can be hilarious when you want him to. He makes great jokes, and then he's just muscles and tattoos and long hair and beard. I get it, ladies. I get it. Absolutely. All right. But also, I think one of the things they did with that movie that I think DC was afraid to do with their other films is they weren't afraid to let it be a comic book movie. One of the things that DC is, I feel, that they own everybody in, no matter what, is their animated films and TV shows. DC has that on a lock. And their cartoons...
Young Justice, I mean, you're talking about TV cartoons, like that's great. But obviously
Absolutely.
the movies too.
Yeah, but all those shows, Young Justice, the movies, Superman, Batman animated, all these cartoons are loosely connected. They changed a few things here and there, but overall, in the scheme of things, they're all connected in the same world. And that's what I feel like DC just needs to do. You just need to do your live action movies like the cartoon, and you'll be good. We don't need to know Wonder Woman's origin. I don't need Batman's origin for the 400th time. I know Superman came from planet Krypton because the one thing that DC has over Marvel Comics is their characters are more well known for who they are and where they came from than anyone else's characters. They are legendary for their background and history and where they come from. We don't need it. And if I didn't know it, trust me, the two people next to me in the theater know it. And they're going to tell me when I ask, well, what happened here? No, he's from the planet Krypton. It blew up. Just pay attention. I'll tell you afterwards. We got it covered. And that's what their animated films and TV shows do so well. They just ignore that and they give you that movie. They give you that action. And that's what Aquaman did. Giant sharks going against giant alligators under the sea, Lord of the Rings style battle. Dude is firing mega cannons from his eyes, destroying buildings. Jason Momoa is just laughing, flying through the sky, punching people. It was just a great popcorn flick.
Sometimes you need that too. Sometimes you, especially again, going back to the Dark Knight stuff. Dark Knight is so important, and even coming from a media criticism background, it's just like, oh my God, you could like dissect this all day, but you don't need to do that with Aquaman, right? You could just watch a movie to have fun, and
yes, you can.
Yeah, and I think that's important as well. And we do get to see, Wonder Woman where you get to think a little bit more, but you get different diverse type of films, and I think that's so important.
I think it's got to be an understanding of the character because Aquaman has been a joke for how long? Since he came out, all right? He's the butt of every single joke.
Family Guy really tried doing that a lot.
Unless you right,
Yeah.
absolutely. Unless you actually read the comic.
Reader of Aquaman, watching Aquaman and seeing all those little nuances and little Easter eggs that are put in here, like they made fun of Black Mantis's helmet. That's right out of the cartoons and right out of the comic book.
Right, absolutely. Because in the comic books, he's almost as strong as Superman. He can go toe to toe with Wonder Woman. He's the king of Atlantis. He's not a joke in the comic book, but in mainstream pop culture, he is. So they went the opposite. They got the biggest, baddest, badass they could find and put him in that role, and he owned it. That's another thing. You got to find the actor and actresses that can own that role and make it theirs, and that's what Jason Momoa did. Like I said, this is just a fun popcorn movie. They looked at what they had. They gave you action. They gave you comedy. They gave you a little bit of drama. Yeah, some of it you could have guessed it, but sometimes you just want to go to the movies and go on that ride. I know what a roller coaster is going to do. It's going to go up the hill and it's going to go down the hill. I get that, but we still get on the roller coaster because it's the speed. It's the careening. It's around the curves. We want that.
And I think Aquaman did that really well. And I think also just forming its own character, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, I think it does take a lot from Jeff Johns or even, like, I guess some of the 90s Aquaman. But it definitely was its own thing as well. And I think a lot of people that are loyal to the comics, like me, I love comics. I read so many comics a week. I make comics. But I think you have to separate the media from the comics as well. Because it has to, allow it to do its own thing. You have to adapt it. It's called an adaptation for a reason. So...
In that aspect, it takes a really good producer, executive producer, takes a really good director and creative team to know that balance of how much of this do we change for the film versus keeping it real. Example, just to segue over to another branch, but Blade, that whole thing needed to be redone for the movie. If you would have seen Blade in the comic book, you'd laugh at that was Blade compared to what we got. I get it. He needed to be redone or whatnot. Shazam. I'm gonna go over there. I'll let you lead off on this one, seeing how it looked like you were.
Oh, I love
playing as
Shazam.
it.
I think Shazam is a great film because it's just fun, It's just a fun movie. And also, it's so interesting coming from a comic book background. So I've read the Jeff Johns Shazam stuff, and I feel like I understood the characters more from the movie than the comic. I'm like, oh, so that's what those characters are supposed to be doing. And now that I read the current Shazam comic, it's like I get so much more, and it's kind of this marriage of like, oh, I can really enjoy this comic even more because I just watched that movie, which is kind of the reverse, where you watch a movie and it's like, oh, well, I know these characters because I've read the comic. So it's kind of cool to get that reverse because Jeff Johns is so involved with these projects. So I think that's really cool.
Real quick, I got to shout out James Perry's one of the people watching online. He said Jason Momoa is his man crush. So got to
Just
shout
like
James
many
out.
of us.
Yeah, The Rock is my man crush. I'm not ashamed. I don't care. He's hilarious.
I think
He's
that's
awesome.
a good man crush.
Huh?
He'll be in the next.
He will be in the
Ooh,
next. Shazam.
yes. I wanted a little bit of an ending with that, but I understand. They gotta save it. They gotta save it. So.
I'm not a big reader of Shazam, probably, so my only experiences with Shazam really is Kingdom Come, which is a fantastic story by Alex Ross. Oh my God, it's amazing. And the cartoon. One of my favorite animated ones is the Superman versus Shazam bit that they had when Black Adam was in it. That tag team combo that they were running on Black Adam, I was just like, oh my God, can we please make this live action? So when I got to watch Shazam, I had really no expectations, and that is kind of like the thing that we all need to do, honestly, in our geek culture. We need to set our geek to the side and say, all right, we know we have this notion of how this film or how this comic character is supposed to be, but we got to leave that at the door and give them an open and clear view and see where this story is going to take us. Because when you have these preconceived notions of how it's going to be, you'll miss all that footage. You'll miss everything about it because you're so hung up on what's in your head instead of what the director and the creative team is trying to give you. So when I went into Shazam, out the gate, I was laughing. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is hilarious. This is pretty much exactly how I would be as a kid with powers. I would be clowning like this. Him testing out his powers with the other kid was great. How he tried to figure out how to jump and fly. I mean, he was hilarious. He was really a big kid at heart trying to work these powers, and even like, oh, you're a villain. Okay, let's do this. And then like, oh, dude, you're really about to be in over your head. This dude's like for real. Like, you're chewing bubble gum, he's eating steak. All right, so you need to get it together and figure it out. The plug at the end when all of them got the powers, that was unexpected,
that, yeah.
but it was great. It was just super fun and how they divided it up. it was just a good upbeat, again, another fun movie. And I think when directors and the cast and crew make a film to where you can sit down and enjoy it, and you don't acknowledge the plot holes, or you don't acknowledge the thing that annoys you, then they did their job. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be able to make a film that you can just sit back and you can ride with. And when you're pulled from it, that's when it's an issue. So yeah, there may be a couple things wrong with Shazam, there may be a couple things wrong with Aquaman, but I had a good enough time with them that I can ignore them because they're still good movies. They're still entertaining, and that's why they're making money. That's the thing. It is, get the right cast and crew. Get the right amount of actors on it. Actors that people will love. Actors that people will enjoy and get behind. Make the movie, it's got to have a good balance. You got to figure out what that movie is going to be, right? You got to figure out, well, is this movie going to be more on the funny side, or is it going to be all serious with a little bit of comedy? You got to figure out what that balance is, and stick with it the whole way through. So, like she said, dark works for Batman, and in my opinion, I don't think Man of Steel was that dark. It worked for me. I thought it was great. I love that movie. But each of these characters come from different worlds. Just like you all come from different places. You were raised differently. You grew up in different cities. You grew up in different counties. You got different type of friends from everybody else. So that same aspect is applied to film with these characters. Where are these characters coming from? And I think for the most part in Shazam, they got the heart of Shazam and who he was. With Wonder Woman, they got the heart of Wonder Woman and what she was. Aquaman, they got the, no, I got to take that back. That doesn't work there. They just remodeled Aquaman to be based off of the comic books and take that joke factor away. Now you got James Gunn coming in to direct Suicide Squad, which is actually now going to be a reboot. What do you think of that, Kat?
I'm interested to see what's going to happen because I liked Suicide Squad more than I enjoyed Batman vs Superman because I really didn't like it. And
Me too.
Yeah, like I think it was a better movie. I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's like I thought it was a better movie. Definitely had some problems, but
I think Suicide Squad was a step in a better direction for DC. That they were starting to figure things out and say, all right, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, that kind of works, that works, this doesn't work. That's where they were starting to put it. I almost think Batman v Superman was the tragedy that needed to happen to put them in the direction
Justice
that they
League
need
was
to
a
go.
tragedy that needed to happen. And again, you could think whatever you think of that movie. But like when I talk about plot, you're looking for a Rubik's Cube this whole entire time. That's the story. No, but all jokes aside. But yeah, I mean, and that's nothing to take away if you did enjoy those movies. Like you're totally allowed to like those movies.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's so toxic about the DC films. Like, oh, you hate that movie? Like that's stupid. Like both sides of the spectrum, from like hardcore DC fans, like, well, you have to love everything, and then like from people that just hate DC, well, you have to hate everything. It's like, why not just like what you like, and that's fine. Yeah. You know, just like what you like and explain why you like it. You know, it's like maybe someone can understand it. Right. Let's not attack each other.
So James Gunn getting a hold of Suicide Squad, that's literally like when Suicide Squad came out, that was, and I'm not in the office. I don't have DC's money or anything like that, but from what I saw, that was them trying to do Guardians of the Galaxy. That was them trying to do their version of Guardians of the Galaxy for their film. Then you end up getting James Gunn, and then you say, you know what, James, F it. We're going to reboot it. Do what you want. Recast it. Set it up. Go ahead and do it. I think a James Gunn Suicide Squad movie is going to be dumb, ridiculous good. Dumb, ridiculous good. James Gunn lights my soul on fire. I absolutely love Guardians of the Galaxy. I love
one
the
and
jokes.
2 or just one?
No, 1 and 2. I love them both.
All right.
The whole line at the end of 2 for Guardians of the Galaxy where Peter realizes that that's his daddy, and you know, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, or rat, me and you are the same. Like all those little things, like all that emotion still transparent over all that comedy. Man, I can't wait to see a new Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah,
and Idris Elba's in it. That's my second man crush. Let's get it. Luther is on Suicide Squad.
I am so happy with that casting. And I think a big reason being, though, is because they couldn't get Will Smith. So they're just like, we gotta reboot this thing. But I think it's gonna be for the better. Also, I guess going into Birds of Prey as well, like how will they handle Harley? Because they didn't really handle her very well in Suicide Squad, especially a relationship with Joker. So I'm very curious to see how they're gonna do Birds of Prey as well.
See, and that's why I enjoyed Suicide Squad, which is also a kind of a fault of its own. I enjoyed it because of Margot Robbie and Will Smith dressing up as the characters because they weren't really the characters. They just happened to be cool ass actors who made the characters really like work for that film or whatnot. And that's the thing that I think Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot. I can't remember the actor's name. I'm terrible at the one played that Shazam.
Oh, Zachary Levi.
Zachary
Yeah.
Levi. You believe them in those roles, like they became those characters, and so like don't recast them. Keep them, please. Now,
Don't make them a team either. Just let them do their own thing, though,
Yeah.
right?
and so like you got that where these people are actually becoming these characters, and you see the character before you see the actor. Will Smith's up there shooting all those eye face things. I see Will Smith being a badass. I'm like, let's go, Will, because I ain't seen the action movie for Will from a long time. Margot Robbie, I just see her basically cosplaying Harley Quinn, and I like what she did. She was entertaining. She did good in the role, but I saw her before I saw Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and I think that's a script thing too. Well, I will say one thing I did enjoy about Will Smith's Deadshot is that I really liked the emotional arc with his daughter. I thought was well done. I'm like, oh, this is kind of something I haven't seen from DC in a while. Was like a good emotional arc, so I enjoyed that, and I think maybe that's why I like Suicide Squad in some bits. And then Margot Robbie, excellent actress. If you saw I, Tonya, loved I, Tonya. So I'm really curious to see what she's gonna do with the Birds of Prey though. And now that there's other like female characters and other people she could like bounce off of. Yeah, so
I think that's gonna be real good. So now with these films rolling out, like, what is your expectation? What are you expecting more of a positive direction for the DC films, or do you guys think they're gonna relapse? And what's some of your
bag.
favorite movies?
What do you think
From
of
it.
Joker coming out? I feel like that could be like a very like mixed thing going on, right? Because so
I think. Well, let's get some.
Yeah,
if you
let's
guys
hear.
let's get that first, and then we can tackle that because that's actually a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
I think that's why Wonder Woman was such a success. Because visually it looks so good compared to Man of Steel and then DC looks like. It just suits each superhero, it suits each comic book now, which I don't think they were really doing before because they wanted it all to all feel like the same part of the cinematic universe. But you can have different heroes, have different styles, and still make it comprehensive and still have everybody feel included.
Right.
I agree.
They have a new person in charge for the DC movies. I can't remember the guy's name, but I think that's their version of Kevin Feige. That's going to be running their movies. And you're absolutely right. I agree with you. I think Zack Snyder's version of Man of Steel works for that feel and I think it works for Batman. But you still need to have the person that sees all the pieces. Because when you get to Captain America is absolutely different from Guardians of the Galaxy. All the way down to the dang soundtrack. Everything is completely different. But they all still work together when you put these pieces together. They're the individual piece and they can stand on its own, but they stand together as an island. And that is what's starting to happen with these other films. Like, yeah, we want the team up movie, but let's get the lay of the land first. And you don't have to do all the origins, which they're not doing now, like Marvel did. But I think they're finding their footing with that. And with the new guy in charge, they are taking the right notes and starting to do this. So I absolutely agree with you. Go ahead.
I also kind of think that, like, because, well, you talk about the success of, like, Aquaman and Shazam and except Wonder Woman. Some are characters that haven't really had a lot of media presence. They know the characters, but they don't really know them, as opposed to Batman and Superman, which has such a long history and has so many iterations. So anybody that's coming into a Batman or Superman movie, they want to do their own version of it because they've seen 100 different versions before. So
Yeah.
these new heroes that you have here, it's a blank slate. You have to introduce it to a whole new audience. Even some comic fans might not be completely aware of these characters. So you have I think they have a little more freedom to do what they want to do to make these characters into characters. So I think
That is a very good point.
I over that one, but it's working for them.
But even from an audience perspective, I think too, like I think people are getting tired of Superman and Batman. It's like, I saw that movie. What makes this one different from the one I just saw last year? You know? And I think that was the Spider-Man effect too for the Sony movies, for the Amazing Spider-Man. It's like, what makes this different than the Tobey Maguire one I saw? And then, you know, Marvel kind of proved, like Into the Spider-Verse proved, this is what's different. That's
Yeah.
how you make a Spider-Man movie. I'm a hardcore Spider-Man fan, so Into the Spider-Verse, favorite superhero movie of all time. So I gotta squeeze that in. But no, it's true though. Sometimes the audience gets stale, and I agree. I think just seeing new characters, like Wonder Woman, people know her, but they don't know her.
Right,
It's
right.
like, do people actually know what Themyscira is? Probably
Right.
not in the mainstream, like we do as comic people. But I don't think everyone knew what it was.
Yeah, I don't think everyone knows much about Wonder Woman's culture and things like that, because like you get into the discussions of what type of outfits and uniforms that they wear, and it's like, well, they are a whole culture. So I'm telling you, there's tons of different variations of their outfits. Like, they have been living on this island by themselves. Trust me, they have developed very different versions of whatever it is that they wear. So why can't we explore and see all of that? I personally wanted Wonder Woman to stay on Themyscira. I thought all those women were incredible, and her auntie, oh my God, her auntie was like my favorite character. And I think all that could have been brought there, and then we went and expanded on Wonder Woman. But again, I don't have millions of dollars to tell these people no. So, just my thought. I just really enjoyed that portion of the film because, as you're saying, we don't get to see a lot of that. So when I saw that, and I was like, dude,
And the action
okay.
sequences, woof.
The way
The
they
beach
practice,
scene.
the way they practice together, the fight. I was like, more. Give me more of this.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. It's really cool. It's a
Can
good
we get a
point.
time check?
Yeah, we are at 4:56.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. So you bring up Joker. Now, I think that Joker movie is going to be super successful. I think it's going to get tons of praise for the acting, for the directing, and all of that. But I don't think I'm going to enjoy it as a comic movie. I think this is going to be a super, super realistic look at the Joker, and I don't feel it's going to be able to fit into anything else that DC is doing, and that in part makes me not like it. But I think as its own, it's going to be successful.
Why you probably forgot about it is because it doesn't feel like any
Yeah.
of these other movies. Like, oh, this feels like from a different production completely. But no, I agree. I think as a comic fan, you're just like, no, I don't want to know who Joker is because that's the point. That's what makes him scary. It's like the Hitchcock view of something is like what's scary is your imagination. It's what
Yes.
you don't see, which is why, these horror movies like slasher films like Psycho, why slasher films are successful is because of Psycho and we didn't see everything. So I think going psychologically though with the Joker is just like, I don't want to know who he is. That's what's scary about him. It's like Wolverine also. I think
Yeah.
it kind of lost his appeal somewhat. I mean, he's still Wolverine, but somewhat lost his appeal when we learned Wolverine's origins.
Yeah.
Even from a movie perspective and a comic book perspective. So I don't know how to feel by it, but it looks like a well done movie, right?
It absolutely looks
Joaquin,
well done.
so-
I think Joaquin Phoenix is going to blow us away with his version of the Joker. The dude is a fantastic actor. Whatever he's in, you either hate him or love him because that's what he's supposed to give you. So I really do believe his version of the Joker is going to be a fantastic thing in cinema. I just don't think it's going to work with the rest of DC. I think it's going to get plenty of critical acclaim. It may even win some awards. It may even win some Oscars for his performance or overall production. But I just don't.
Or it
think
might
it's gonna
fail. It might fail.
It might fail. It might fail. But Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor. I hated him in Gladiator. I hated him. Couldn't stand him. But go ahead.
Disagree with that. I think Joker is someone that has a big following. You see Jokers upstairs all over the place, and I think with a good villain, you have a backstory. For example, Negan in Walking Dead, he's a villain, but with his backstory, you have a different, with his comic, there's a different perspective.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
People like villains,
Yeah. I absolutely hear you, and to a point of that, I will agree. But I think the difference with Negan and Joker is that Negan is here for like the last 20 years, last 25
Even.
years.
No, yeah,
Not
it's been like me 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Walking
yeah,
Dead
yeah,
overall
yeah.
has been 20 years.
Yeah.
But Negan for like the last 5 or 6
5 or
years.
10,
And he's a super grounded character. So when we get to explore Negan's background, it's very interesting because we can. I mean, for the majority of us, I enjoy Walking Dead, and whenever I watch it or read it, I put myself in those situations easily. Joker, to attest to what Kat is saying, he's so scary because we don't know who the Joker is, and his intimidation factor, and the fact that he's just so out there. Like me personally, I can only speak for myself. I don't need to know Joker's background to be intimidated or fearful or fall in love with the Joker. That's just me.
They kind of touched on that with the 90 Batman.
The animated series or
No, the movie.
the movie?
Michael Keaton.
Okay, the Michael Keaton movie.
Look, the classic story that we get of the Joker, is that he was a burglar, just a regular, gangster, and he had a red hood helmet that he wore. Fought Batman in a chemical plant. Batman knocked him over, tried to save him. He fell into the liquids, which turned his face white and gave him that wicked smile, and he became the Joker after that. The more recent origin story that the comics are doing is that Joker has 3 different versions of himself, 3 different entities that represent Joker,
Which we don't know the answer to yet.
which we don't know the
Yeah.
answer to, but they are completely different in him, and that's why the Joker has been around for so long.
But that's like how comics need to work sometimes too, because there's been so many decades, and it's just like, wait, well, how did Captain America, do World War II or whatever?
Right.
Like, and once an awesome book is Spider-Man Life Story is where you actually get to see him grow up, because it's like, oh, what would happen if we actually did see him grow up throughout the years? Anyways, but going back to the Joker, I think the Killing Joke did it right for me. It's
Yeah.
just like, keep telling me false origin stories. And also like Dark Knight did the same thing where he's like, oh, well, how did I get these scars? He kept lying. And if the Joker movie for me is him keeping, trying to lie each time, like, all right, I'll do that. Like I could do that. But I'm also curious to see what is he going to be going up against? Because
Yeah.
this is a superhero movie, but maybe it's a drama. Maybe it's himself. I don't know. It's going to
Yeah.
be really interesting to see.
Go ahead.
Will be like his state into where he's normal to the state of madness that we get, in love with the Joker.
Okay.
I agree with you. I think it'll be a standalone film. I don't know how you tie him into the DC movies. And I agree with you on something. I like The Man of Steel. I enjoyed that movie, different side of Superman. You got to see that perspective and trying to deal with who he was. And then it was nice to see General Zod as being bad guy and have Lex Luthor all over again.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Batman versus Superman was a failure because they tried to take like Frank Miller's version of that side and then Doomsday and try to make some kind of movie out of it, and it just didn't work.
That Lex
Yeah.
Luthor was thrown in there. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a little bit too much.
Look at Lex Luthor in that aspect of him knowing everybody, he would just tell everybody who they were. Lex Luthor was a genius for a reason.
Right.
A long time ago, he was just a rich guy, and he ended up being a genius that was far none, probably one of the smartest ones within the DC universe.
Oh, most definitely.
So he knew their origins, and I think it was kind of fault of not having the actor who played in the CW play Flash instead of bringing
Right, Grant Gustin.
I agree with
Yeah.
that one.
He's the best Flash.
He is. He's good. He's great. He is.
He had the CW following of the Flash, and if you roped him into those movies, I think it would have been a lot more
Support.
perspective.
Or not have Flash at all at that point, And it goes into, I think they have a Supergirl movie planned as well, or they at least had a Flash movie. Like I'm watching this for free. Why am I gonna pay money to go see this movie if I could see it weekly and get more story out of it because it's a TV show?
Yeah. I think to just tag on, I like a lot of the things that you're saying here, and I think the hitting factor with Man of Steel is that a lot of people have to realize it's not Man of Steel set in the 1950s. It's Man of Steel set in 2015. Ma and Pa Kent raised their child in the 90s to the 2000s, and I can relate to that because now I'm a parent raising my kids in this era. And honestly, the way that they were as parents, if he was my son, that's exactly how I'd be. I don't care about anybody else's kid but mine. So keeping him away from everybody. When Pa Kent said, maybe you should have let him die, that was real. Like, I hate to say it, but you're my child. You're who I have to look out for. And Pa Kent really kind of put that fear in Clark that if they find out who you are, what are they going to do? They're going to take you. They're going to experiment you. They're going to lock you away. Like, he put that fear in his son because he didn't want that to happen to him. And I think that's like the kind of scope that you have to be in when you watch Man of Steel. And that's why he goes through this process of trying to figure out what to do with himself and the powers.
I say one hilarious moment for me in that movie is when he put on the telephone pole.
It's good stuff.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Did anyone have anything else to say? Yeah.
I'm certain you've heard the news about the casting for the next Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Robert Patterson.
Any strong opinions on that or not?
I have an opinion. You want to go first?
No, go ahead. You go first.
I don't love that people keep saying, "Oh, it's the Twilight guy," and I'm not like a hardcore. I don't know if he's gonna do a good job or not, but I do think we should give him, something and say, hey, give him a chance before saying, "Oh, that movie you did 10 years ago? That sucked," and it's like he didn't like it either. And then to see, what is it called? He just did it. It's not. It starts with a G. The Good. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And he was like with his brother and stuff. That was a good movie. He's a good actor. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was in Harry Potter as well. So let's give him a chance. I don't know about the physique. I don't know if that was like Bruce
That's
Wayne
nothing.
for me.
We can always
but
figure that out.
You can always figure that out. Yeah,
Yeah.
and if he's a good Batman, I would say give him a chance. Let's see a trailer. Let's not say, "Oh, he's the Twilight guy."
Yeah.
You know?
I say let's go. Let's absolutely go. There's a lot of casting that people have said that they hate it, and then they end up being great. And there's casting that people said, "Oh, I love it," and they turned out being terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's the most favorite one there is. But I say give him a chance. Let's see the movie. Like, not even the trailer. Let's see the movie before we dog this dude, because he is a really good actor. Hey, you come to me with a script and it's called Twilight, and you want me to be a sparkly vampire, and you're paying me $3 million. Suit me up.
Yeah,
Put
come
the
on.
lights on me. Let's go. Everybody does a movie that they're like, hey,
Especially
it's
when you begin, right?
yeah, when you
Right?
first start off, you don't get a lot of say in it. But look what else it led him to. I think he's going to do a good job. I want to get James a shout out here because James is saying some stuff on Facebook. He said, I don't think every villain needs to have a backstory, though. I don't want to know Joker's backstory so thoroughly. Give me a little glimpse, but I don't need a full movie of his backstory. 5 or 10 minutes in a Joker or Batman movie would be enough, I think. That's from someone's watching online. Time check.
It is 5:07.
Yeah, we got about 5 more minutes. We got to wrap up. Did anybody have any other questions or anything they want to say?
I
Go
just
ahead.
am curious how they're going to change the Batman, because they're trying to keep it as the same universe.
So from what I've read and heard, it's not going to be Batman year one. He'll probably have about 2 or 3 years of experience into it. He's not the master detective yet, but it is going to be heavily detective influenced. So this is where we're going to start to see him be that great detective. A lot of analyzing stuff, looking at things. There will be, of course, there'll be some action stuff in there. But Matt Reeves wanted to focus on the detective part, which I applaud because we don't get to see that in a lot of the films.
Something different.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We just said that there's so many Batman movies. Why should I go see this one? Why should I go see Into the Spider-Verse? Obviously, because it was really different. The animation was really different. So for this, it's like, obviously Batman, it was called Detective Comics when he was launched, He's a detective. Let's see that side.
The
I
world's
agree.
greatest detective.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm looking for, I want to give it a chance. I want to see it. I haven't seen X-Men Dark Phoenix. Chances are I'm not going to like it. But I can't talk about the movie. I can't praise the movie or bash the movie until I see it. I have to give it a chance. And when I go in there and I buy my ticket and I get to the door, I'm going to have to wash all my past experience away from it and go in here with an open mind and go watch this film and form an opinion based off of that and not everything else.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Ken.
Ooh,
Go ahead.
man.
I know you got some.
Oh, what's yours? Static would be great.
Wait a minute. Pause it. Are you my man from Captain Planet? Oh,
Nice.
round of applause for this guy.
Yeah.
Great cosplay.
Oh, that's awesome. Static is a great one.
I love reading the comic. I love the cartoon that came out. It was an excellent, what you were talking about, characters that are not known. When they came out with Guardians of the Galaxy, like I read Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, this is going to be a flop. Nobody knows who these people are.
And now we love a tree and a raccoon.
Yeah, there you go. We love them. Although more people know Static, I would say.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
More
yeah.
people do know Static because of the cartoon. But I agree. It'd be nice to see maybe a more milestone version of him because obviously the cartoon was a bit different from the comics.
Captain Marvel, actually, I thought they should have did Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that would be great.
Red Marvel, before the Marvel stole back the Marvel name, if you would. He was one of the first heroes to die of cancer. I had an uncle dying at the time, so as a little boy, that hit me hard. And when Monica Rambeau took on the mantle of Captain Marvel, I read her through like the 80s. She led the Avengers.
Yeah.
You wanted a diverse, very strong woman. That was your character.
I agree. I
Miss
think that'd be
Marvel
great.
is a good character. It's funny because the guy who made Marvel with Stan Lee made Miss Marvel. But Monica Rambeau to me is still one of them. She is Captain Marvel.
She is
See,
great.
she is.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that we do have the opportunity for her to be in those films. I completely understand what you're saying. But sometimes you gotta look at the map that they have. We have these characters that are better examples of what they're trying to do.
We need Kamala, and we need Carol to get
Yes.
Kamala. So
Right. But they start off their movies one way, and yes, it's taken 10 years to start to get it, but now we are getting it. I think Marvel had to prove that these movies could be successful, that people wanted these movies. So yeah, it took longer, and we got a bunch of movies with men in it. But I tell you, I don't care how corny it is. I don't care what plot hole device they had to use to get it. When all those women stood up in Avengers Endgame, me and my daughters went fucking crazy. I don't care that the statistics that it took for all 17 of those women to be in the same spot on the battlefield amongst all those masses just to go take the gauntlet across the field.
doesn't matter.
Does not matter. It was amazing. And when my daughters saw it, they lit up. That's all I care about. And now we're getting it.
One character that was actually taking Thanos apart.
Right.
Who was it?
Captain Marvel. Scarlet
Oh,
Witch.
and Scarlet Witch,
Yes.
Scarlet Witch, yeah.
Because the only way to stop her, you had to rain down fire. Scarlet Witch would have took her out.
You are absolutely right. Scarlet Witch is the only one that made Thanos cry. He said, rain fire, but Lord, do it.
Scarlet Witch is great.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the Disney Plus
Yes,
show.
yes.
Very excited for that.
They're finally giving Black Widow her movie. Or like transitioning over from DC to Marvel.
Yeah,
But it was well organized. She needed the movie a long time ago.
she did. And so that's the thing. Of course, they needed to be doing this stuff a long time ago. But I think us as a mass, as an audience, as fans, as customers, we just don't accept certain things until it's proven, until it's established on a fan base. And I could be wrong and I could be reaching, but I think Marvel Studios literally had to prove that these films are something what people want.
Sure.
That these films are legit. And like, so right now, if a Marvel Studios movie comes out, I have this thing called an unbelievable ticket. I've only distributed 2 of them to any film. One is for Fast and Furious. I don't care what they do in that movie. Everything is solved by saying family. He jumped over a bridge and landed on a cactus and he still survived. Family. Unbelievable ticket. I will ride with them, ride or die.
Literally ride, right?
Yeah, literally. Marvel, unbelievable ticket. Marvel has to literally make a bad movie for me to doubt their production.
I don't
level.
think they've made a horrible movie. I think
They
there's
have not.
movies that are not like, again, with Captain Marvel, I know people are like, well, it wasn't Wonder Woman. It wasn't the best movie ever. It's like, why does every female movie have to prove to be the best movie ever when Ant-Man's allowed to be what it is? And I love Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man.
Absolutely.
But as like, general audience, people are like, oh, Ant-Man's whatever. It's fine, but it's fun. So why can't Captain Marvel just be fine and fun? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Last one, I think we got to wrap up.
Sorry,
No, you're fine. Don't
no.
apologize.
to who I would want DC to do a movie of. I would like them to do Green Lantern again, but John Stewart.
I agree.
My Green Lantern.
Yes. That's what's his name? Oh my God, what's his name? He draws he's a big time drawer. He does Batman a lot. He's always at the comic book conventions, but that's exactly what he told me when I interviewed him. Like, John Stewart is this generation's Green Lantern.
for sure.
Why would you not do a John Stewart movie? They all grew up with the Justice League cartoon and John Stewart. That's who you make for your movie.
I agree.
That's mine.
I
gonna-
100% agree.
I'm going to close out with this one. The movie that I want them to make, you won't see it coming. The Question. I want The Question.
Female
for a
or
movie.
male question?
Well, I didn't know about the female.
Yeah. What's her face? She works for the GCPD.
Oh.
Yeah, Renee. So she's in it.
Well, I think that'd be great. I never knew about that character, but I am attached to the question from Justice League Unlimited.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
Huntress, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Well,
the episode.
thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys joining us for this conversation. I think it went great. I hope you all enjoyed it. Facebook, thanks for tuning in with us. We're going to pass out this goodness for you guys, and we'll get on our way here.
What should we do with the tickets?
Cheer off down the half and start giving them to them.
First come, first serve. We have 15 of these.
Thank you.
Come by our table at 6 o'clock. That's when we're doing a raffle. We're at C29 for the short fuse panel. You guys enjoyed? I love your lid cosplay. Thanks. I still watch the final season, but
I hope binging because then you can continue on.
so I'm on Crunchyroll now. I also do like French stuff, so I gotta like watch it for San Diego. I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna fit this now? No problem. Here we go. There you go. No problem.
And where's the raffle going to be?
It's C29 in Artist Alley.
Okay.
And you'll see my face, I'll be there.
Great,
Yeah, no problem. So you get 3 free comics from Short Fuse Media. And just come over by 6 C29. Short Fuse Media. Like a raffle ticket?
No.
Thank you. C29 Short Fuse Media.
We all went through it. Like when Green Lantern filmed Ryan Reynolds, I was like, I didn't know that I wanted to know about it. I was just saying when I was growing up and I had Justice League, and then they made the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. My first thing was, why is he white?
You didn't know there was other Green Lanterns besides John Stewart.
Right, because we all grew up with Jon Stewart.